Hello, this is a quick video to illustrate a reality of infantry combat in the American Civil War and how the Minie projectile fired by the muskets of that war were truly destructive. To illustrate this, let us first go back to the American War of Independence. Here we see this man carrying a smoothbore musket. Taking a cartridge, he pours part of the gunpowder into the rear of the gun so that it ignites the gunpowder in the main charge. Which is poured into the front of the barrel. And that is why this is a muzzle-loading gun. The gunpowder goes to the front, along with the projectile that is taken from the same cartridge. And the projectile is a sphere that easily falls into the barrel of the gun. Thus, reloading is relatively easy and fast, and this man could fire 2 to 3 times per minute. And that is very important. Maintaining a high rate of fire has always been one of the characteristics sought with firearms. The weapon is brought to a resting position. He presents his arm, pulls the hammer all the way back, and the musket can be fired. That was not the only musket used in the Independence War. There was also the Kentucky long rifle, which had internal rifling. And this is very important. When the ball passes through the rifling gave it a turn on the central axis, so it could be much more accurate at long distances. And this is how the Kentucky rifle is reloaded. And an important part is that it uses a treated linen cloth that is placed in the mouth of the barrel, and the ball goes inside that piece of cloth. We can see that the musket is very difficult to reload. It is necessary to use specialized tools to hit the bullet into the barrel, which will only enter a quarter of the way in. Then the ball is pushed all the way to the bottom of the barrel. This man, on average, will only be able to fire 1 shot per minute in normal situations. Let us not imagine in combat situations. So, reloading this weapon was extremely difficult. But this weapon had a great range for its time, approximately 150 meters. The weapon is now ready to be used, and a shot is fired. Now, those were the muskets that infantrymen had in the War of Independence. But 100 years later, there was the American Civil War. The muskets used were still muzzle-loading. This meant that the gunpowder was poured through the front of the barrel. But there is an enormous difference, and the difference is found in the projectile that was fired, the Minie ball. And it is of enormous importance to see that it is a conical projectile, but also that its base was hollow. And when the weapon was fired, the base expanded and gripped the barrel's rifling, giving it a turn on its central axis. And this made it much more accurate at long distances. The reloading of this weapon is similar to that of a smoothbore musket of the War of Independence. It is a relatively quick reload, and the weapon could be fired 2 or 3 times a minute. It was a good rate of fire. In addition, we observed something interesting. No longer gunpowder was poured into the back of the weapon, but instead, a percussion cap is placed to make the weapon ready. The weapon is placed in a resting position, and then it can be fired. That was the Springfield 1863 rifled musket. During the Civil War, dense linear formations continued to be used to move and fight on the battlefields. But therein lies the big problem. With the smoothbore musket in the War of Independence, the average soldier had a range of 50 meters with its fire. The rare specialist with the Kentucky rifle could regularly hit targets up to 150 meters. But the first one fired 2 to 3 bullets per minute. The second, only 1. And that brings us to the Civil War 100 years later. The rifled musket had a good rate of fire, 2 or 3 shots per minute, but an incredibly effective range of 300 meters. And that is the problem for Civil War battles. It was still thought that the infantry had to start firing at a relatively short distance. So, on many occasions, men stood in battle lines, shooting at each other at close range. And that was truly devastating. Well, this was a quick video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Regards, Victor Aguilar-Chang.